Greetings from the desert. I don't know how it happens that I have such a close-up view as the picture I'm seeing of me. I'm not that close. I don't know what to do about it, so fuck it. You know, the real key to getting what I have to say is get rid of your dependence on words. Accept the truth that there's no truth in words. Reading books will only make you confused. Forget words. Forget ideas. There's no arbiter of truth other than yourself. And get this right. As far as you're concerned, there's only you. Other people are a supposition. There's only you. Don't get your truth anywhere except from you. See, most all of us are greatly concerned about who is correct, who is a truth teller. Was Ramana enlightened? Was my teacher enlightened? What difference does it make? It's only a word. But you have to learn the truth. That there's no truth in words. All these people are talking at you, trying to convince you of their point of view. Just smile. Don't say nothing. Don't say anything. Let them think that you're listening and believing them. There's no truth anywhere. Truth is a fiction. It's a concept. Saying some statements are true and others are less true or not true at all. But that's an observation or an opinion. Your opinion is as valid as theirs. So hang on to your opinion. You cannot just accept something someone says who you respect, is they are announcing an opinion. which may be valuable to hold for certain purposes and for certain times. You might as well just shut up, let them talk, ignore what they have to say. Turn your head away from reading books and from listening to people on television. Find your own self. When you find your own self, you feel confident enough to depend only on your own opinion, while being open to others. But there's a degree of certainty that what you announce is as close to the truth as can be stated. You can also say that about Robert or Ramana, but realize they are different from you and have different backgrounds and different ways of talking. So study somebody else. As long as you feel curious about what they have to say. But don't believe them if they claim authority. Listen to what I say because I'm an authority, I'm a teacher, I'm a guru. The only guru you should listen to is yourself. The problem, though, is to get to the point where you feel confident enough to depend on yourself, to be your own truth, even if others find you wrong. There's a huge, huge change that happens when you accept yourself as the center of the universe, as the arbiter of truth. Then when you listen to others, you can do it from the point of view of being somebody really asking to hear the other's point of view, not to find their truth, but to feel closer to them and their humanity. We all talk, and mostly talk bullshit all day long. And that begins to clear up when you realize the fundamental error of believing any sentence because somebody says, believe this. This is why all over the world there's the battle of countries and ideologies, ignorance versus education. Because we live in our own opinions, but we're never sure of them. But there's something that happens inside of you, or us, when we now realize that anything said, even by us, is only an opinion. Biden has an opinion. Republicans have opinions. I like listening to Biden's opinions because they're closer to mine, my natural way of living based on my own experience and upbringing. I realize that 99% of conversation is not about truth, but it's about communicating with other people. And at the bottom, you know that the communication through words is really a communication through ideas. You know, ideas are very bad reflections of truth. Truths can't be put into words. They're only opinions. And truth is not an opinion. And in effect, there is no such thing as truth. There are only opinions. And what happens if you have this point of view is you become a very intelligent listener. Listening from your own point of view. And really not listening to have your opinions changed. But you listen with an open mind, recognizing that your own understanding is only an opinion, your opinion based on your education and your background. And therefore just as susceptible to being wrong as anybody else. Anybody else. And it's easy to get to the place where you don't listen to anyone that's trying to teach you something. You only listen to people that are communicating on a daily need basis, where the only things you ask is, how hot is it where you live, or do you like what I'm saying? There's only a universe of words which you have to escape from by realizing there is no truth. There are only opinions. And that's why it's so easy to talk to people who are trying to communicate to you some message. You have the correct point of view of maybe having your own opinion on the matter already. and their opinion agrees with yours or does in a small way, but not a large way, etc. And what happens over time is you lose respect for words and concepts. You recognize that accurate speech, along with gestures, facial remarks, remakes, movements, are all necessary in conveying an idea. And sometimes your ideas can't be conveyed because the other person has a very different belief. And because of that, they know they can't communicate with you. And you know they can't communicate with you. In which case, you have to start examining basic truths with them. Spell out the basic truths you live by and they live by, and not only abstractly, but in terms of their own daily life. Now here, you come knowing you're hearing bullshit, because I tell you that all the time. But it may be helpful bullshit. It may help loosen you from the grips of words and ideas and concepts and truth to entering a world of no truth. And understanding is regarded speculatively. Can I believe what they say? And what matter does it if I believe them or not? Doesn't mean anything to anybody. Is it important to communicate or agree on some idea? And you can go through various periods of breaking your connection with ideas until you realize that all communication is just of ignorant people yelling opinions at each other. And you may have the same opinion or a different opinion or a very different opinion, or want to create a combat situation opinion. There is no truth. There are only opinions. So you don't argue over what somebody said in terms of the meaning of words, but you have to find out what the sentence they said means to them operationally on a day-to-day level. You have to start talking to each other about the truths they share inside that they make decisions on. And then a lot of time is spent coordinating your viewpoints. Now, most of us do this relatively automatically. After 5 years of knowing a person, we get to know them and their points of view. And if their points of view are fairly close to ours, we usually regard them as a reliable source of information, perhaps even a friend. When somebody that raises a remarkably different point of view from yours or from your group may encounter a lot of resistance from you and from those who live with your set of ideas. And that's only a problem if we argue about truth. But if we don't want to argue about truth, knowing that there is no such thing, so you can't convince another person that what you say is true and what they say is false, only that we have our own points of view. And once we can understand the other person's point of view as the way it really is, it may affect our point of view. But it's better to have no point of view, to have no truths inside. Let something somebody says rattle around in your empty mind, where you really don't hold on to it, but you wait for it to make some sort of sense. And you don't listen to anybody really anymore as the font of truth. You recognize some people as really understanding the subject of food preparation. And you defer to them when it comes to the subject of food. And you think you can learn from them if their ideas make any sense to you. And it's good to listen to them because they seem to understand food preparation and distribution from the simple family point of view to a more complex academic discourse. But the peace comes from not accepting anything as truth like you did 5 years ago before you rid yourself of the disease of truth. There are only people communicating with each other. And the relation that you have to them kind of determines the way you talk and what you talk about. You have a pattern of opinions inside of you, which has been exposed over a period of years to checking by other people's opinions. And there comes a time when you can find a deep sense of relief and rest when you recognize there is no truth in words. You don't seek truth in books or in talks. You seek in communication for ideas that could possibly help you in doing something. And if that point of view that they are conveying and the truth they are conveying within that point of view make any sense, you can learn from them a new way of expressing new ideas or something you haven't thought of. But if you talk about what it's like being a trained engineer without ever having been a trained engineer, or trained to be a trained engineer, their ideas are just foolish. You have nothing really to say. You relax. You let everybody have their own truth. You don't feel a need to straighten them out. You don't feel a need to straighten yourself out. And what that means is a huge freedom. From being apart from following truths in our minds. If we think we're expressing the truth and the person isn't buying it, and we have a deep-seated trust for truth speakers, we're going to have a hard time. But if we have absolute contempt for expressed truths, we won't do it ourselves. And we'll let it go by if somebody tries to convince us of a point of view. Communication then is very different. It's really done on a very personal level. Of how do I live with you in the moment, in whatever situation we're in? Do we start talking philosophy? Do we ask for directions? Do we ask for money? Do we ask for food? Do we offer food or money? That is, when it comes to trade or negotiations or sharing, how is it that we benefit ourselves or the other? And is the whole idea of benefiting appropriate to deciding how to speak, what is truth? There is no truth. Just by that concept. That concept alone, trust. That if you look at the things that are said in the newspapers and on the radio and on the television are largely bullshit, except when they're spoken by somebody that shares a similar reality. And if we accept the point of view that everybody has a different reality, and we're all trying to convey our realities in language or in words, we're going to miss the point, really. And it's best just to open your heart to that person and feel from your heart what they're saying and what you feel about that person. Are they a good person? Are they earnest? Are they likable or unlikable? You think they're just a bunch of words and you need not pay any attention, or what they're saying make a real difference to you in terms of how you understand things. But most of the time, our communications are just about sharing reality with the other person in terms of everyday life. And most of the time, we don't get that close to other people to be challenging on that kind of basis. Most of our communications are done as an afterthought. But beginning now, if you haven't already done it, accept the truth that you are the center of your own world, your own universe. You need not accept any other authority. You should understand what they're able to say or what they do say. But most of the time, you don't even bother checking for the truth of what they say, because they recognize what they're speaking then is opinion. And it may be opinion very unsimilar to your own. So what you do is you relax and let go of trying to convince others of the truth of your words. Instead, accept all words as poor attempts at communication. Because there's a reality of being face to face with the person that forms a very personal relationship here and now. That's wordless. And when you're wordless with another person, you share so much more of you. And you understand so much better them, what they're trying to say, how glued they are to concepts, or how easy it is for them to let go of concepts or latch onto new ones as more appropriate for their life circumstances to believe in than their old ones. communication in this sense becomes so much easier because it's not intellectual anymore. It's not verbal anymore. It's being face to face with another person 4 or 5 feet away, where you're able to smell them, see into their eyes, look at how they move. Are they relaxed or not? You find all of this out. But you find out something else, and it's much unbelievably different. You find out that you're unconcerned because you know that there's no truth anywhere. And you're not going to miss learning something from another person. Other teacher. You're your own teacher. But then you still have to learn how to communicate on a daily basis to other people. So you do a little studying of conversations and what to look for in their demeanor or in their voice to see what they're really trying to say to you. Is it a plea for help? Is it a plea for frank and open communication? Or are the persons so caught in their concepts that they're only walking ideas? What happens to you if you find out there is no such thing as truth? There is no truth. There are only concepts. And concepts can be true or untrue or some measure of both. Depends on who listens to them. And you can even do more. You can begin to look at the ways you communicate. And start becoming more aware of how the person responds to your communication. Are they relaxing as you're speaking with them or communicating with them? Or are they tensing up? Or are they withdrawing? Or what? And based on that evaluation, we can change the way we're communicating or change the way we accept what they're saying. But if you're spending time mostly just talking about your truths, it's a waste of time. Because from your point of view, there is no truth. So what is the importance of understanding the truth of what somebody else says? Unless it can give you an added advantage somehow. Of increased ability to function in communication for you. And then you begin developing your own school of communication, so to speak. This is really extremely complex, the whole concept of communication and getting along, and what's being communicated, and what's truth and what's non-truth. But if initially you accept the truth that there is no truth expressed in words at all, at least you can hold on to silence and accept that silence is neither true nor untrue. But it's a place where it's more easy to observe the other and try to understand what they're trying to say. It's much more complex than debating of another person on their position and yours. It's more like a problem of understanding that he's Russian and been in this country for 5 years. And I'm a Polak that's been in this country for 8 years. How do we communicate in English, given our own differences? And really, this is not our native tongue or our native world. And it's really hard for non-natives to make the transition to somebody comfortable in our society. It takes years. Just relax. Don't try to understand another person. Try to feel them. Feel their truth with your heart. Listen to the tones of their voice. How does the tone of their voice affect you? Does it put you to sleep? Like I'm putting Ian to sleep because he feels so comfortable with my voice, in my opinion. If he didn't disagree with me, if he disagreed with me, he wouldn't be so relaxed. No. Does anybody want to express an opinion about what I said? Mark, do you want to express an opinion?
Or after you explain for 45 minutes how all opinions are not true and they're very crude approximations of some far off kind of judgment, I will do my best after that introduction to the whole opinion thing. So I think that for some folks, the dropping of the verbal conditioning, the verbal understanding and all that is extremely difficult. I think that for some folks, what they believe and what they think they understand is very, very hard to drop. And if you think that what awakening is realizing that one is consciousness first, that one is grounded in consciousness and everything else is an appearance in consciousness, it makes sense that the activities of the body-mind, such as understanding, opinions, all that, is not what we really are, but it's added on to us. So the beliefs and what we think we understand and all that, the whole interior dialogue, all it does is block what we really are. And in order to be what we really are, we have to be at the point where we're in equilibrium, equanimity, whatever you want to call it, where the body mind is totally relaxed and we're not holding on to anything, but we're a clear, we're like you say, like a hologram, like a clear hologram. The body mind becomes like glass, becomes transparent, and we reside in what's prior to all that, which is consciousness. Now, these are just words. This needs to be experienced. It's not another concept to add to your concepts, but it's a perception that can be had and that can be continuous. But the words are very, as you say, Edgy, words are very, very crude. And they don't really convey the whole thing. They could only crudely point to the truth. But they can't totally communicate it. They capture part of it. It's like pointing to the moon. You know, when you follow someone's finger to the moon, you see the moon. The moon, yes. But the pointing, you could explain to somebody what the moon is, but unless they've actually experienced it, it's just a series of concepts and beliefs. So I will leave it at that, because that's all. I'm all tapped out. Edgy. Thank you, Edgy.
What about you, Ed?
So, let me sit up here.
You realize, all of you, I'm just asking you to add bullshit to my bullshit.
So the bullshit that I'll add was some things that came to mind while you were talking, and it was interesting. I guess I must agree with you on a lot, because it's very relaxed today and kind of near very restful. The energy was very strong and took me to a deep place. But my mind was a little subsection of my mind going, listening to what you're saying, and the things that it caught on to are kind of interesting to me. Things that I thought of while you were speaking, because I find it funny that one of the most best pieces of life wisdom that I've clung to for a long time, which came to mind, was from an 1980s comedy, one of my favorites, and yes, I'm aging myself here, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And in his monologue, he was talking about different ideologies. He's calling them the isms, communism, socialism, capitalism, all the isms. And he summed things up very well, I think, when he said one shouldn't believe in isms, one should believe in himself. And that kind of summed everything up for me today.
It is a huge change when you can go from being a student, a listener, to becoming your own person, not having to prove yourself to anybody, but communicating from your heart what your things that are going on with you in the moment. It's an enormous change from being a recipient of knowledge all the time recognizing as yourself as the full measure of truth for you. You are the central person in your own life. You have to make up your own mind whether to believe words or not, or to start trusting what you see and feel from the other person. And then you won't be so interested in words. I put it pretty bluntly by saying there's no truth in words. But that's to get the idea across. I mean, you can measure the degree of truthfulness of words, I guess, if you worked and devised a system. But it's really better to grasp the concept that there's no truth in words. Truths are just conventions of communication. They only work when you're in the environment appropriate for that form of communication. Whether it's a scientific paper or being a college student or being at a, a city meeting of all the officials and general people inside of a weekly or monthly meeting that they have that gets the electorate together. You have to become sensitive to the environment rather than the words, pay that much attention to the words. You might think of words more or less as a song that somebody's singing and not as an attempt at communication, except a communication of the heart. Because I think we all recognize when somebody is truly speaking from their heart. And it really doesn't matter about truthfulness of whatever they say. You know that they're saying it from the truth of their own heart. And we look for that in other people because we no longer accept regular communication as good enough. Just communication in words and concepts like in a classroom don't touch us anymore. They don't move us. We don't really pay them much attention. We look at the intentionality of the person, at the clarity of the person, at the sensitivity of the person, and maybe the intelligence of a person before deciding to listen to what they have to say. And at the same time holding the point of view that it's probably not very important to either of you as to who's right or who's wrong. So you don't talk about that kind of stuff. I think some of my teachers of this point of view, including Robert, would give examples. And some of them dismissed any kind of intellectual discourse and would only pay attention to communications that were meant to evoke something in you, either a giving or a taking or turning up the heat or getting food ready, like I'm hungry, or it's getting late, about behaviors in the immediate time. And the thing is, we're always judging this ourselves, although we're probably not very aware that we're judging this for ourselves as part of everyday communication, because it's not been made explicitly aware to us that the words spoken in communication don't mean nearly as much as how the person presents those words, how they stand, how they sit, how they talk. Are they solid and immovable? Or are they very dart-like and change their minds easily, change their opinion easily? Or don't they even want to talk about opinions because they know it's worthless? And maybe you never discuss opinions anymore either, because you've seen through them as all being bullshit. So this is why I endlessly tell you that I'm speaking bullshit. But this is exactly how you're all speaking to each other. From now on, take it as bullshit. Unless that bullshit in them somehow changes your own opinion. Jay, from what I said, does it move you in any way?
Yeah, I kind of lost the whole train of thought. I mean, there's something about, I was trying to go beyond a kind of a reducto ad absurdum where you just simply can't get a handle on anything. I'm looking for something. There is no truth. I mean, I don't know. It's unfathomable on some level. I don't know. What I thought I was standing on is just pulled out from under me. I'm in free fall. And I don't know what to do with it, but I'm not concerned and I'm not afraid. It's almost, it's not bliss, but it's not bad. So your bullshit is so much more exquisite. And I'm only going to say than my bullshit when I speak, and I try to do it less because the reason I come here is because of what you've done as a vessel, and what you share is just, it's tectonic in my, in my purview, just beyond my. As I tell you, I'm just crushed. I don't know where to go with it, but I don't have to go anywhere with it because where I am with it is grace. And that's what I love about it. You simply allow me to be where I am in the now moment and stop looking for any more shit. I don't need anything else going on. Every single thing is requited right here, right now, with everyone here. And on some level, I wish these were recorded because these are guided meditations. And I only say that because I wouldn't necessarily go and play it again because the power of it one time is just more almost than I can take, but I love it. And this you do to me, and you do it every time. And you've done it again, so I love you. And thank you.
Didn't I record this one?
No, but that's okay because there's no replays, there's no redos. We sit here and we bullshit, but as I said, your bullshit is exquisite. I'm way past my verbiage is now just like trickling out. I'm done. What I said, what I said was why I come, and the now moment, which is all there ever is. I'm trying to look for a perfection, even in the words that there is no truth. I don't know. Somehow that seems like you can't parse it. It doesn't mean it's a lie. It doesn't, I don't know. Maybe you can't. Maybe there's nothing. Maybe you just put it down and go dumb as a rock and walk away from it, or walk around it and just look in absolute consternation. What the fuck did he say? What did he say? What do I do with it? And then I'm not up to that laugh, that moment, like Steve Eckert or you or Robert Adams said, when you see that the shit just goes away and you realize that there's nobody home. That laughter hasn't come yet, but that's why I'm here. And I don't care how long it takes, because I'll keep coming back, because I love your message. I love how you love us, and that is exquisite. And that's why when I read Siddhar Rameshwar, almost the first 100 pages, what he says is revere the Guru, because he's not from this world or in this world, but what he brings to this world is a treasure beyond words. And you do that, and you did it again. Now, if that had been recorded, I wouldn't necessarily be embarrassed. I try to work with the material in the room, but I love you. I love what you bring to us every time.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Well, my iPad is down to 8%. So I'll have to go soon because it'll stop working. I do love you all.
I know.
And it gets stronger. The more I see you and the longer I see you.
Absolutely.
Because it's not done on a superficial understanding. It's done on a much deeper understanding, a wordless understanding. Just watching the truth of the other. And everybody has that ability to speak the highest truths for themselves that they can find. And over a period of years to eke out a way of communication that's more successful with others. But it's communication, it's not truth. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Frank, can you take over? Or do you have something to do?
I have a short while I can be here. If somebody has longer, I can be here for a short while, though, yes.
Why don't you take over then?
Okay.
Take care.